This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom really is brought to you by...
What the fuck?
What's up, dude?
One of my renters broke the toilet again. That dude takes giant shits. Now I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Why don't you hire a property management company or something to take care of that stuff?
Because they suck, and they take 10%.
You know, our dude Hank owns and manages Heritage Realty Partners. I think he said he only charges 5%, and he visits each property at least once a month.
That's right. He's always posting beers from the road. You have his number?
Actually, I do. His personal number is 805-451-5734.
Perfect. Now he can deal with my renter's big shits.
Heritage Realty Partners.
For all your property management and investment needs. All right, so Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Body Parts Lighting. We've all seen Christmas Story a million times, right? And I got kind of jacked a couple of Christmases ago, and I'm like, I know there's a leg lamp, but what else can I do? So I find Body Parts Lighting, and I absolutely filled my house. I mean, I have you won't believe this, I have a chandelier of balls.
Hey,
the crystal
all
balls.
Sizes?
Some of them are uneven. Crystal balls above the dining room table. I've got just a foot as like a reading lamp by my chair, by where it's upside down. Heavy arch on that too.
Nate, do you think I could get a left buttock?
You can get a left or a right buttock, or you can get the sort of like focused in on the butthole as a black light.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I like that a lot.
So Body Parts Lighting, if you get the itch this year when you're watching TBS and Christmas Story leg lamp just in your face all year, go to Body Parts Lighting and see what kind of a crevice you can light up in your house.
What a tagline.
Nice.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies, just a blind ride, no reason why. I love this scene. Nate Scott, Zach, and Brad, your favorite podcast. Let's start this thing. Woo!
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho.
What kind of podcast do you want, boys and girls?
We just for effect, we were both, Nate and I were just right next to Scotch's face so we could get the close up, because that is a glorious close up.
It is weird and like that whole kind of
shit.
fisheye lens type look. It's freaky as hell.
You'll shoot your load out, kid.
Oh, welcome everybody to Bev's Video Kingdom, and happy holidays, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. We are happy to be here and with you talking about my all-time favorite Christmas movie, A Christmas Story. How are you guys doing, Brad?
You know, we're getting close. We are right next. We're right next door to the Christmas holiday, and I'm loving it. This is just I have a weird like love-hate relationship with this time of the year, because it's like I love it because I just love the lights and everything, but I hate taking down all the decorations because goddamn, my house looks so plain without a bright Christmas tree with all the lights. And I know people say, oh, well, you can just leave it up. I'm like, no, I buy a live tree, like reasonable people. And so, I mean, that thing can't just sit there all day. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not buying a fake one. Sorry.
Well,
for all you that buy the fake plastic, I understand.
A simple, I'm doing fine with this. That was what I was wanting.
I know.
For.
So your entire relationship to the season is about lighting and wood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
much.
like I have a love-hate relationship with this because I feel differently about different decorations. That's what I heard. Fuck.
Oh,
I thought you were going to be like, because, family and like, the cheer of the season, but then it's like, there's materialism and you're just like, no, I don't like putting up my lights, but I also don't like taking them down. That's what I heard.
Yeah. I risk my life every year just for some dumbass icicle lights that are just not even great.
So I put up lights this year for the first time in a long time. So I wrapped them around nails and shit. I like wrapped. They looked like shit. So I went back and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I checked every string of lights. I then stapled them for the first time ever. I stapled them like a fucking boss. They were straight.
Clark Griswold.
I
There you
walked
go.
back. I looked at it and I was like, this is going to look amazing. I plugged them in. Tell me how this is possible. The first 2 strings of lights, nothing. Everything else lit up. I think that's electrically impossible.
That's
Oh,
weird.
I'm not trying to one up you, but I feel like I can because I put up those dumbass icicle lights, and on the exact peak, like the highest point of my house, when I'm up there, like if I'm looking down, it's straight into my driveway, just cement. If I fell off there, it's like for sure adios. It's like the one spot. Like other places, I'm like I could probably like grab that tree on the
you're
way
done.
down, or land in the grass. I'd be okay. This part, right in the middle. All the strands, all the lights are perfect, except right there in the peak, like that like little like 2-foot section is off.
Because you're like,
the only part.
I won't do it.
It's like, no.
You got up there like
the
an
lights
idiot?
are there, but those particular lights are not working. And I'm like, it's just daring me to go up there, get
come
your
again.
ass up there,
Come up here again.
come on up here, fix those lights. I
don't
dare
do that
you.
shit. I
I
don't-
double dog
Did you
dare
fix
you.
them? I got to know.
Oh, fuck, not yet.
I don't,
I was out of town.
I don't go over about a 6-foot ladder. That's my limit.
Yeah.
I don't trust my coordination. I just
Oh
don't.
man, I get up on the roof like an idiot. I'm like, why am I doing
I'm not
this?
doing
Like,
that.
if I did like a cool show, it'd be like, oh, there's a little sacrifice here to make this look awesome. No, it's just icicle lights.
If you die by falling off your roof, I am absolutely going to bring this up at your funeral.
oh please,
I'm going to
please,
be like, he knew it was going to happen and he did it anyway. He's an idiot. We like Brad, but he's an idiot.
I if you don't tell that story at my falling off the
Trust
roof
me, I
funeral,
will.
I'm gonna be pissed.
So I think, is this the first time that I don't know if the 3 of us have ever been alone on a pod before?
Is it the first time?
It could be.
It might
I
be.
don't remember
Yeah.
a pod. So,
Well, I mean,
one
because
of
it's
our-
been, you haven't been here for a few, and then we haven't had Zach here for a bunch, and you weren't here either.
And usually we're going to be doing a draft, so we would have to have at least
Extras.
somebody
Yeah.
extra here because they're going to be drafting
Yeah.
with us or judging.
Right.
So just the trio right here.
Yeah, I like kind
This
of
is a new
I mean,
trio.
I miss Zach, but I kind of dig the
New
vibe we're
dynamics.
having.
You know, it's
Yeah.
a little weird, and I kind of like it. I can reach to both of you. And,
Yeah,
you know,
if you get
Little
under the
ski
table
poles,
far
little-
enough.
little-
a little cross country skiing. Like, I mean,
Tis the season.
Tis
You
the
know what I mean?
season. I mean, Olympics coming up too. You know, like the Olympics, like this is like the new event, the 3-person
cross country.
There you go.
Yeah, I like
Dig
that
it.
a lot.
All right. Well, as you heard from that banter, I'm Scotch Beck. We got Brad and we got Nate. Zach is in highway hell right now, and we miss him and love him. But
if I had a button now, highway to hell.
you can't play
There
that
are
song
only 10
during this,
buttons.
this time of year, dude. It's the,
Why?
It's
It's
the
too
Christmas
warm?
season.
Oh, highway to hell is too hot.
It's true. Yes, it's Christmas. We can't talk about hell.
Brad's fine with that. He just cares about the lights.
That's all,
All
I
right,
care about.
let's
this
talk
season.
about a fucking movie. A Christmas Story. Like I've said, I think I said on the last pod, this is just my all-time favorite. This movie, to me, I can't start Christmas without it. And I was even talking to my girlfriend about this weekend because she was like talking about how her daughter used to every year, Christmas Eve, this was their movie. And she's, Annika's trying to get all the stuff ready for Christmas, cooking and baking all this shit. And all of a sudden her daughter's like, we got to watch Christmas Story. And she's like, oh, fuck. I have to stop everything and spend the next, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long. I didn't even see how long this movie is. I don't care. And she has to watch this movie. And so as she's telling me this story, I'm sitting there going, well, I have to watch this movie too at some point. 'Cause she's like, I never want to watch that movie ever again. I'm like, it's kind of my thing. I have to watch it at some point.
So her daughter passed the toy. Like she got rid of the daughter making her watch it. Now you're going to make her watch it.
Yeah, but I also said this. I said, look, it doesn't have to be Christmas Eve. It just has to be at some point, either Christmas Eve or Christmas morning.
Oh,
and,
okay.
and we don't have to sit down and watch it. It just has to be on. I'll turn on TNT or whatever, and when they have the 24 hours of Christmas Story, and I just want it on, and I'll catch this scene and then this scene and that scene. So that's all I need.
So funny you say that because an oft discussed topic on the pod is how I watch movies.
Right.
And this one I sat down to watch and then I was like, what am I doing? Because I don't know, like I've probably seen, if you were sort of to stitch it together, I've probably seen this movie, I don't know. I mean, like hundreds of times.
Yeah.
But it's always or almost always just sort of patching it together because, it's always running. Right. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch it any other way. So I put it on. And of course, I don't have real TV like Scott. So I just put it on, and when it would get over, I just hit the start again. And I did that for like 3 or 4 days. And I think I caught every scene. I mean,
Right.
I've seen them all. And it definitely felt right. I was like, this is the way the movie, it's almost like this. I mean, in some ways the movie plays to it because the sequence doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
It's very much a vignette type movie.
It's a vignette
Yeah.
type movie.
Absolutely. I actually today decided, because I actually wasn't going to, I felt like I didn't need to watch this. I've seen it enough times. I've seen it, like you said, probably if you put all the pieces together 100 times easy, because I just watch this all the time. And I watch it multiple times each Christmas. And I actually sat down and pushed start. And this is the earliest I think I've ever watched it. And it felt kind of weird, because it's usually the day of, or at least the day before. But gosh dang it, I started to feel like it was Christmas already.
Yeah.
It did the trick.
And I will say you were asking about the time. It is a long hour and 34.
Wow.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's a slow.
If you just sit down and watch it,
it's a slow
burn.
movie.
Yep.
And it's only an hour and 34. So
Right.
it's actually kind of a slow movie, but it is a shorter movie when it comes to like compared to the others. So
Right. And not exactly a blockbuster in the
Well,
theater.
so I'm curious. I've never looked to see because
Yeah.
I have commentary on this.
Well, it's 1983, and it was made for $3.3 million, which makes sense. No huge actors
Right.
in this. A couple well known.
Yeah.
With good careers, and the box office was 19.2 million. So it actually was
nutty.
successful.
That's way more than I thought.
It was successful, but also that's not where it made its money. I mean, obviously, just syndication and DVD and VHS.
Here's my question, and I did no research, so of course I'm gonna have to ask. When did it start the loop on TBS? Is it TBS or TNT?
I can't.
it's now on. It used to be on one of them. Then I think it went to both of them. Now I think it's back to one of them.
So when did that start? And was this just like Ted Turner really liked the movie and he was like, you know what, we're gonna play this.
That's a great question. I have no clue.
Because my belief, if I'm remembering some story correct, is that it wasn't right away.
Right.
I think this happened some number of years after the movie even went to video, was that it started to loop on this.
Right.
And my belief is that the movie actually, even though it apparently did okay, was not nearly the phenomenon that it was
Right.
for a number of years until it hit TNT. And so, it's an interesting movie. It's you ask this sort of I wonder whether or not it's really, we clearly can't separate this from the experience of having it on all the time, right? I mean, if I have to step back, right, it's probably not a very good movie in a sense, right?
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I guess I just mean it's not the quality in some sense of the movie does not match the level of affection that most people have for it.
Well, and I would say very much our generation's affection is not matched by younger generations.
Well, it's because they don't have TNT or TBS.
No, I'm just saying you show it to them and they're like, this is a fucking boring movie.
Yeah.
It's
well,
just not
you can't,
entertaining.
because again,
Very nostalgic
you can't
movie.
show it
Oh,
to them and be like, sit down and watch this movie.
Yeah.
It has to just be a movie that you maybe see through once, but then it's it's just you pick up scenes, right? And you remember, right? But it's funny, there's so many things. You opened the episode with the ho ho ho. I literally, I'd say half the time I think in my head ho ho ho, I think ho ho ho. I mean, it's
The most aggressive ho ho hoing that's ever been done ever. Yeah. And intimidating and evil and
and the little elf helpers are total dicks.
Oh yeah. The fisheye lens is so perfect in that scene.
Yeah.
No doubt. But I do have a quick answer for you guys. So in 85, Turner bought MGM Studios, their entire library. They sold off the studio, but they kept their library, and they started airing it in 91.
exactly. That's what I thought.
People dug it, and then in 97 is when they went the 24-hour marathon.
But so it comes out in 83.
83.
So I mean, 8 years later, I bet you that if you looked at video rentals, I mean, if you had this information, you would see that it was a pretty moderate VHS success,
Yeah,
right?
up to that point.
And then it just go. I mean, it would have been in the general consciousness, but I'll bet it wouldn't have been anything like. So I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I guess though, Scott. So you would have been in '83.
I would have been
1741. No?
I would have been, let's see, 74, 9.
Okay, so my guess is that like you probably don't remember it that much from the 80s.
No, I don't. I didn't watch it early on. Definitely
Right.
didn't see it in the theater or anything like that. I saw it on VHS at some point. I don't remember exactly when.
Yeah, and I bet you might have caught the I mean, you watched a fair bit of TV and movies, but I'll bet you still even caught the I'll bet people that are just a little older might not have the same feeling because it passed them over, right? They didn't kind of have that relationship with. Whereas kids of the 90s, right? I mean, we were sort of wheelhouse, right? We were 12 when it starts running regularly.
Right. I know for a fact. I remember somebody giving us the tape and saying you should watch this. I remember sitting
the
around
big
with the
ass
family.
VHS cover. Like it was like
Right.
a big ass plastic, like those old
With the
they were
wreath on it. And,
they were like very like big ass whole plastic VHS.
Had the
covers.
edges, the lip.
Yeah, the lips on.
Yeah.
Little clamshell.
Right.
That's what it was. It was a clamshell.
But yeah. So again, super important movie to me. Now, is this a movie that you guys, Brad? Is this something you watch all the time, or is it just something you haven't seen in a while?
Oh yeah, this is in the wheelhouse of Christmas movies that must be watched at some point, purely for nostalgia's sake. Like there's things I love about the movie in pieces, as far as acting, as far as just lines and things like that. As a movie as a whole, like sitting down and watching it, it's a little bit of a drag. But the nostalgia just makes up for it. Like
there's just so many great scenes, and as you're walking through the room, if it's on in the background, you're like you'll stop for a minute because here comes this scene.
Yeah.
This is the scene where he has the fantasy about the teacher, and she's drawing the pluses on the walls, and it's like
and she just like the way she like does the pluses is so aggressive. I love it. I love it.
So this, I mean, what I think, and I don't want to say saves this, but like what makes the movie age well in a sense is that it is intentionally silly in a lot of the scenes, right? So like this morning I was watching, I turned it on just to sort of like, and I jumped into a part, right? And it's the part where he fantasizes about saving his family.
Right.
And Charlie, my daughter, was sitting there with me, and she'd not paid any attention the times I've had it on, but I started chuckling. So she sits down, she's chuckling. He's shooting these silly robber looking people, and the parents are acting kind of, sort of over the top. And it's one of those things that like somehow the aging of the way the movie's shot, the aging of the look of the film, it somehow like seems in like even now correct because they have these little like, fantasy strain things that look, like they're even older, right? They look like talkies, or, and they have these little bits where it's sort of it's over the top and
a little fast forwarded. Like it looks like it's in fast motion, some little
exactly. And
stuff.
so it's almost like it's a timeless piece because it doesn't have an era, right? It's not like it's a movie that was made in 1983 to look like it was made in a modern time. It was almost made to look like it was 20 years old at the time.
Right. But I think that's a pretty brilliant way to add some silliness, some stuff that isn't realistic with the little daydream sequences and these funny little things. So you can actually add something funny like that. So maybe a younger kid who isn't going to pay attention to the plot at all is going to see the little robbers get shot in the butt and falling off the fence, and you can do
X's over their eyes.
X's over their eyes.
Yeah, I love that part.
So weird. But so it's just kind of a neat use of that to kind of, and also to break up the film a little bit, because you have this story going along, and all of a sudden he has another daydream, and it has this ridiculous premise with the Wicked Witch of the with his mom's the witch or whatever, or no, the mom's the jester and the teacher's the witch, and so it's just kind of a fun like approach to break up a movie, and I think it's pretty cool.
Where'd this go in the draft on voiceovers? We have a voiceover draft, right?
We did, and
it's got to be high.
I'm pretty sure
it was the first round.
I'm pretty sure I picked it,
and I mean it shows, right, when you watch this. And I will say, in terms of if I'm sort of identifying the thing that I think works the well, it's not just the voiceover, which is great,
right?
It's actually that Peter Billingsley somehow, and this may be his direction because he's a pretty young kid, but the facial expressions somehow match the voiceover so well. And maybe they do the voiceover secondarily, but it's so good, right? Like his facial expressions pick up the sort of like tone of the voiceover exactly.
Right.
And so I think the voiceover really works more because it blends with the acting, especially, particularly well.
I don't know why we questioned. It went number one overall.
I was going to say, I thought it went number one.
Yeah. Was it my pick? Because I'm pretty sure.
If you had first pick, it was
I'm
the
pretty
first
sure
overall
I did.
pick.
And then Red, Shawshank, that was probably mine.
Shawshank Red, and then Casino. Interesting.
You usually
Did you take HI at the end?
Yeah, HI.
I might have.
I think it was this guy.
Might have been. Yeah, he might have taken it.
Because I think that's when he did. It was the
Okay.
HI versus high thing.
I don't remember.
I don't think so. I think
I don't remember what
It
happened
was a
yesterday.
3-person draft, so somebody was gone.
But what's cool, what I love about the narrator, it's Gene Shepard who wrote the book that this movie was based on. So the guy who wrote the "In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash," he's the narrator, Gene Shepard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So like he's gonna get all the right, like just precise
It's in his head.
wording. It's in his head. He's picturing the scene.
Yeah.
So it's like everything about that narration is so perfect. That's obviously why it went number one.
This
overall
would be
in
a
the draft.
question I'd really want to ask the director, I think.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, well, maybe we should look into doing something like that.
Let's try it. This episode of BVK is brought to you by Best Fucking Furnace Company. Tired of talking mad shit to that bitch-ass furnace that can barely get your feet warmer than your grandma's frosty old cooch? Then you need to go to the Best Fucking Furnace Company. Our goddamn furnaces are built to heat your house up hotter than Satan's taint on his vacation in Death Valley. And the best fucking thing of all, our furnaces are built to work fucking better the more shit you talk to them. So go to town like a salty sailor, spitting the most obscene things you can imagine, and let that piece of shit make your whore wife and fucking silly ass kids warm as a fresh fucked apple pie. Best Fucking Furnace Company. We'll keep you warm, asshole.
That's a great tagline. Yeah, and I was worried about making too many cuss words in mine.
Pull up a chair and grab yourself a drink. We'll hypothesize what directors think. Maybe sometimes get a guess. Makes us look good. Let's drink, laugh, and pretend we know what we're doing. Drinking with the director, brought to you by Last Call Brewing.
Before we sit down with the director, Bob Clark, let's do a little bit of business here. And before we talk about what we're drinking, we are part of a network. Brad, why don't you tell us a little bit about the network?
We are part of the Deluxe Edition Network, a network of podcasts with all sorts of genres, all sorts of types of pods, and a lot of fun, a lot of different types of categories for you to listen to. Right now, we have 2 podcasts of the month. Those are the Deluxe Edition podcast with Casey and El Ray. They're going to be interviewing some interesting guests, a lot of celebrities that they've interviewed, Tommy Chong and...
Well, they've interviewed 2 characters from this movie.
They have.
Scott Schwartz, who played Flick. He's the one that got his tongue stuck to the pole. And Zach Ward, who played Scott Farkas.
They have interviewed both of those. So if you want to check out some extra Christmas story content, check them out. And then we also have the secondary podcast of December, which is the Steve and Crypto Show.
They do movies and horror, music, comics, kind of all kinds of different things. And pop culture.
No cryptocurrency advice.
No crypto and currency, though. I think that's a nickname. But I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
But I bet
Maybe
he's
he
a
made
great
a lot
guy.
of money
Who knows?
trading Bitcoin.
All right.
So-
what's next on this agenda?
What are we drinking? So, Brad.
I am drinking the classic Citra Bowl from Last Call Brewing in Oakdale, California. Citra Bowl is a tasty Citra hop-based pale ale that is just delicious. It's great. It's my favorite 5%er to drink and enjoy.
You know what's interesting is I don't think I'd ever even had one. You talk about it all the time. You talk about how it's your favorite. I think out of spite, I just didn't want to drink it. And the other night, I had a few people over here, and you weren't invited, FYI.
Thanks.
And there was a Citra Bowl in there. I drank it. Damn, it was delicious.
It's a nice.
It's a good.
That was a very
tasty.
that's a very Brad move of you to be like, "Fuck you." You say you like it. I'm not going to drink it. I'm not going to drink it for 7 years.
Exactly. Nate, what are you drinking?
I've got my signature Diet Pepsi, and I just felt a little spicy tonight, so I went. I juiced it a little bit with some makers.
Little makers. Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm drinking. So it's Christmas season, and I was thinking about gifts. And my brother gave me this gift. It's called Bunnahabhain. And I actually Googled that before we started this. And Brian Cox had a little video where he taught me how to pronounce that.
Ooh,
and
okay.
it's a 12-year, and it's from the Isla region, which is usually very, very smoky. And this one really isn't, which I'm actually glad for. But it's really tasty. It's yummy. My brother gave me that. And so thank you to my brother, which I don't say very often.
What's his name?
Timmy.
You know what? We haven't gotten an idiot
We haven't got an idiot
thing in a while. What's up with Tim?
We got to get him back on in the new year. We'll have him come and just idiots. And
Tim, you're an idiot.
we should have an episode where he's not judging. He's just literally sitting there, just calling us idiots about all the stupid shit we do.
He's
agree.
He's like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones dancer in the back, but all he does is just hang out in the pod and just say idiot.
The skanker. I think they call it skanking, right?
He was a skanker.
Oh, I hate that movie in Clueless. I don't know why, but that idiot that's just dancing around the skanker guy, it irritates me because I'm like, what is he doing? What is his job? And I looked it up. That's all he ever did.
He was the most beloved guy in the Boss Tones. He was their skanker, and everybody loved him in the ska scene.
That just makes me madder. That was his
Because you're thinking as a drummer and somebody who's writes songs and stuff, you're like, this guy's getting a cut of my money.
Right. For literally dancing on stage. I guess there's dancers and stuff, but he doesn't have like choreography or anything.
MC Hammer went poor paying all his fucking dancers.
Oh, shit, whatever.
Is that true?
Yeah. He had an entourage of like 100 billion. It was stupid.
All right. Well, let's have a seance and talk to Bob Clark because he died in 2007. Bob Clark, probably one of the most interesting IMDb's that you're going to find on a director.
Well, if you're familiar with IMDb, it says when you first click on a person, it always says known for, and you're going to have 4 films. And sometimes I look at him like, why the fuck did they choose those 4 films? Uh-huh. But his just sums him up in such an amazing way, because here are the 4 known fors for directing for Bob Clark. You've got and our friends Tanya and Felicia from Two Chicks and a Horror Flick will love this. Obviously, he directed Black Christmas, a very 70s horror
1974.
movie. Then he's got Porky's, a teen R-rated comedy that set. I mean, if it comes before all of the other movies like American Pie and Superbad and all those. I mean, it's basically like their grandpa.
Right. If there's any movie that might deserve to be canceled, which I fucking believe nothing should be canceled, it's Porky's, because there's some shit that's going on in that movie that's not right.
And then you've got A Christmas Story. I mean, one of the most treasured classics of cinema for the Christmas season. Just absolutely pure at heart, a great movie. And then a weird, dumb Baby Geniuses comedy. I'm like, you've got a classic horror of 70s cinema. You've got Porky's, a teen R-rated comedy. Then you've got Christmas Story. And then you've got Baby Genius.
Some would call that prolific.
It's pretty amazing.
So,
much props to Bob Clark.
And on top of that, there's a couple others. I dug a little deeper. He had a movie called Turk 182, which was kind of a fairly known 80s movie. But he also did the sequel, Porky's 2. Okay. But he also did a little movie called Rhinestone in 1984 with Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone. And Sylvester Stallone is trying to be a country singer.
Oh, boy.
And I tell you what, if you want to have some fun, Google or go to YouTube and look up a song called Drinkenstein with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, this is a great YouTuber.
Oh, my God. You will have so much smiles on your face.
Is this going to be my new holiday classic?
It's so good. It's so horribly, horribly, horribly good. Just enjoy.
Well, in 1967, his one of his first credits, a 4.3 starred movie called She-Man, A Story of Fixation. But then you go to his last moments, in the last years of his life, he did a movie called Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, got 1.5 stars on IMDb. The Karate Dog, a TV movie that got 2.7 stars. and his final one was called Blonde and Blonder with 2.8 stars.
Man.
I would really have liked to be like his kind of confidant in those years and be like talking to him about what he like, hear his logic.
Right.
Be like, I mean, it's probably just a paycheck, right? At that point,
Had to
right?
be at that point.
Which, I mean, you know what? Honestly, we're kind of like, I mean, we can't all be Scorsese, right? Like, I mean, you know what? He's making a living directing films. He probably made a shit pile of money.
Oh no, he and with those 4 that, I mean, well, actually, okay, 3 of those 4 like that, those are legendary.
Yeah.
But I will say he also helped kind of ruin my childhood too, because one of my favorite all-time books, there was Super Fudge by Judy Blume, and it was the Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, and then Super Fudge. I loved those books with a passion, and they did a TV series in like 1995. I was already in high school, so I'm like, oh, I want to check this out. Like, I still love these books. And it was just a piece of shit series. Like, I hated it.
Was he involved?
Oh yeah, he was like the creator and the director.
Oh shit. Okay.
And I was just like, fuck this. Like, you're just taking something. I felt like at that time I was like, I could have done such a better job of like producing this book. Like in my mind, everything that he that I pictured just did not happen, and it was terrible.
Little sidebar: have you guys ever seen like Conan O'Brien clips where Paul Rudd comes on, and whenever he
The Mac and Me.
whenever he pitches a movie, it's so. That's another fun YouTube if you ever want to spend some time. And people have put it all together where all his appearances. But every time Paul Rudd would come on to Conan, he'd be pitching a movie, and he'd say, "Hey, let's show the clip." And he would always show the same clip from this fucked up E.T. ripoff movie called Mac and Me. And it's a
Sponsored by McDonald's.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
hilarious
McDonald's
clip.
invested in this movie.
So, but apparently, towards the end, I think it was like one of Conan's last shows, he goes on, he's kind of explaining how this happened. And he said, he mentioned that he was between 2 clips. It was that one, and he's also going to pick a clip from Baby Geniuses, which was like some little kid or like a small person may look like a baby kicking the shit out of people or whatever. And so he's actually going to pick it from Baby Geniuses. But he decided to go with the Mac and Me, and it became this whole shtick for over like 15 years of him going on Conan.
Baby Geniuses might have blown up. If
Who knows? Yeah. But anyway, a little sidebar. So we have any questions for this very unique director?
My question was like, given the legendary voiceover and what I sort of claim that I think that it's helped a lot by the match of the voiceover and the sort of body and facial expressions of Billingsley. How did they do it? Right. I mean, I think the traditional voiceover, when you think about it I believe the traditional voiceover, especially obviously if you're going to do characters in like an animated film, you watch you're seeing it, and the voiceover is being read after the film has been shot.
Right.
But I guess the point of confusion here is like, how does then Billingsley get it just right for the voiceover to match, right? And my guess is, right, that the director has a very clear picture of what the voiceover is going to look like, but I would be curious about this.
I think he was reading straight from his writings. So I think a lot of the narration came directly from, like you said, the book. And so I think it was him reading that, and like they had that on set, I'm assuming.
Well, maybe he was there.
Right, but I'm saying maybe he's there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's doing.
I would be surprised.
I'm not saying that's what they recorded, but I wonder if it's possible that he actually did the voiceover in the scenes, so that the actors could react to it.
I would be, that sounds. I bet they did that.
And I just wonder whether or not that's unique, right? I mean, whether or not I bet that's not overly common, right? I mean, probably. Well, we know, for example, that Red can't have done that in Shawshank because the voiceover is often where Red is around, or there's no actors reacting, right? So, I think this is the sort of, the voiceover happens in real time with actors, trying to portray. And it seems almost like it reminds me a little bit of Wonder Years, right? So Daniel Stern is doing the voiceover where Kevin, and it's a similar feel with the kid, and he's sort of in scene. And that also is pretty phenomenal, although it's obviously a lot more of it.
I got to say that probably was. I mean, I if it's not directly influenced, I mean, at least somewhat influenced.
I've got to think so.
That the whole series, because it's shooting an olden age with the narration, like it's very much in the exact same vein.
Right. Same kind of almost pacing and yeah.
Interesting. The Wonder Years, it starts in 89, right? So it would have been out for a while, but I mean, it
Right.
certainly would have
Yeah.
been the phenomenon that
Right.
it became.
What I'm actually really surprised at is why didn't Gene Shepard become an iconic voiceover? He did some other work, but I looked at his credits and there's nothing popped out as near like being successful.
I didn't notice that they had, and PBS had already created some little mini series of his book. So there was actually, even before this came out, they'd actually already done some little shorts from his book.
Okay.
Filmed. And so this was not actually the first filming of any of Gene Shepard's stuff. So like they actually done it before. So yeah, you would think like, oh, that, and then they've got the movie and like it would become this continuing thing, but I guess not. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I've got a dumber question though. Like my dumb question for the director is, you've got a kid named JD Robb, and he plays the character Schwartz. And then you've got a kid named Scott Schwartz that plays Flick. Like on set, why didn't they just have Scott Schwartz play Schwartz and JD Robb play Flick?
And
Like it seems like that would be hella confusing.
Yeah.
Schwartz is playing Flick. JD Robb's playing Schwartz.
Right.
Like on set, wouldn't that have been a fucking nightmare? Like, all right, Schwartz. No. I'm not talking to you. Schwartz. Fuck. It seemed like it would just be nightmare, right? Trying to like figure that out if you're trying to like talk to them
keep
and like
the characters
give
the
them
same.
direction.
Like they do the same stuff. They have the same line. Just switch the names.
Yeah.
It's just really.
It's so wild that like that had to have led to some conflict on set at some point where they're like, all right, so Schwartz is going to do this. And he's like, me? No, him.
Right.
No, I know you're Schwartz, but no, the character, like it just seemed like it would just be like disastrous, right?
Yep. That is a dumb question.
It would
but I like
aggravate me. It would aggravate me. I love it. And the secondary thing is like they'd actually nobody can determine the exact year that this is supposed to take place. There's a lot of things that say it's this year. It's all within like the late 1930s to early 1940s, and so nobody can figure out exactly like what year it's supposed to be because there's there'll be a car that obviously that car came out this year. Oh well, this thing didn't come out till that year, and so like people are like kind of back and forth. He's talking about a trade in baseball and like that pitcher got traded at some point. Bullfrog. They traded Bullfrog.
That's
like,
right.
That they talk about. He actually never was traded. He became a free agent, and so like they're trying to like they do all that whole game, but nobody can actually narrow it down to one specific year. There's not like there's little things that put it between about a chunk of about 4 years.
Right. I know they had a follow up Christmas Story.
I was going to ask if anyone's seen this.
So I've tried twice now.
Not good.
And I haven't been able to get through.
So
maybe
You're talking about the one that came out just like last year.
Because Billingsley's in it. He's an adult. Is it?
Yeah.
Is he the adult Ralphie?
Yes. He's Ralphie, and it's like so I'm taking. So I was going to ask you guys, like, did you see it and did you like it? Because I might have been in a mood and maybe I just wasn't into it.
I haven't seen it.
Like 2 nights ago, I go, hey, maybe for this pod, I'll watch it and be prepared to talk about it, and I just couldn't get into it. So
I really enjoyed it. A lot of nostalgia.
Okay, it had great ratings.
And I really enjoyed it. Like the girl from Airplane, she took over for Melinda Dillon's
Julie
part.
Haggerty,
and she does a good job. I think it's interesting. I really I dug it. Like I think it brings back the characters in interesting ways. It goes some directions where you're like, oh, okay, and then it's like, oh, actually kind of puts a little twist on it. So it's like some of the things that happen, like you're like expecting it to be, oh, it's just going to follow the same path that the old movie did. They actually did like a previous like part 2, kind of like the unlicensed
Christmas Story 2.
Yeah. And I remember, I think this is early in social media days. And I was like, anybody that watches this, I will shoot your eye out. Like, basically, I was like, I was fucking pissed. I was like, this seems like the absolute turd. Don't get involved in this at all. This one has a lot more heart, and I feel like it gets the right feel.
Okay.
I
didn't hate it. And maybe it's just because I'm just so used to the old movie and the charm of it or something. I don't know. I just couldn't buy it, and I don't know.
Well, Scotch, you know what? I might be recommending this later, so maybe you'll have to take me up on my offer.
So I've got a question for all of you. So one of the most memorable scenes in the movie is the fudge scene. We've all referenced it, right?
Right.
So did your dad swear in front of you? Because he says, right, like he's like, I learned all the words from the old man,
right?
right? But he can't say that.
Well, first of all, one of my favorite things about that whole scene is the look on his dad's face when, like, so he says, okay, what'd you say? And he's like, that's what I thought you said. And as soon as he's out of eyesight, the dad has a little smile. Like,
Yeah, and then he rats him out.
Then
to
he
his
rats him
mom,
out,
which
so-
I'm
which is a little weird.
The fuck is that?
Like at first you think he's going to be cool. He's like, oh, okay. He's using the big boy words now. But then he says, you know what your son said?
Well, then it leads to one of my favorite things, which is on the phone. And do you know what Ralphie just said? No, not that. And then she's like, well, do you know where he learned it from? Well, probably his father.
Yes, which is great.
But then I love that she says no, and then tells it to her. It's
Great sound. Oh,
like,
my God.
Okay, which every time I watch that, I cringe a little bit because one of my as a dumb kid, one of my favorite pranks that some of my friends used to do is we would prank call somebody, and one of us would act like the kid, and we'd say something really stupid. And then the other kid would run in and be like, "Are you making prank calls again?" And start acting like we're like beating the shit.
What?
And then
I was never a part of that.
No, you weren't. This was like a few other like neighborhood kids that we would do this. And like one of them, they'd pick up, "I'm so sorry. You know, my son just, he's so obnoxious and he does this." They'd usually be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you don't need to." And then, "God damn it, you," like just like acting like we're just beating the fuck out of each other. And it was just like terrible prank call, but I'm sure some people were like, "Holy shit."
So go back to your question.
Did your dad swear in front of you?
Well, I grew up on a farm and I grew up around a lot of cursing. And I wouldn't say it's actually a great question now that I'm really thinking about it, because I don't know if it was necessarily my dad other than everybody else. So, but I know at some point he definitely used some language that wasn't appropriate, but I don't remember how early it was. I don't remember how young I was when I heard it.
So my dad was military and he was a football coach, which would automatically make you think that he's going to be cussing up a storm. But my dad is not a swearer whatsoever. He is not somebody who cusses. And he's one of those like military men. They can cuss because they've earned it and they're in battle and stuff. And he didn't mind, you know, some of his assistant coaches and stuff would definitely cuss up a storm.
Right.
Go to Coach Cheney.
Oh, yeah.
Those types would do it and he would tolerate it, but he's definitely never been a big cusser. So,
Yeah,
So-
I know, but I know I heard it early because I think I said this on the Grumpy Old Men pod, that for some reason I'm known as the kid who taught everybody how to cuss.
Right.
And this was in elementary school. And so the one thing now I'm remembering something. My dad didn't necessarily like just cuss in general, but he used to teach me all kinds of dirty songs. And not necessarily like totally filthy or whatever, but like kind of the songs that are kind of like make you think he's going to cuss and you change the words type of songs, funny little things.
So my wife has a great, she tells that exact story about her grandmother who there's a song, it's I'm going to I got a pistol on my knee.
Oh yeah.
A soldier I will be. I'd never heard of it, but like there was these sort of like
Right.
little songs like that. Her parents used to get mad at her grandma for this.
Yeah.
So my dad, funny, I mean, I bet I can count on one hand the number of times
Yes, your dad's not a
I've heard
cusser.
my dad. But here's the thing, and I don't know, but Dad, you're probably listening. I have a hunch that he probably swore plenty, but just never around us.
Right.
Now he'll say, he doesn't like he doesn't necessarily like movies or TV shows that have like egregious swearing in it. But my guess is as a young man and maybe with his friends or maybe in private or maybe with my mom, like he probably swears.
He's a military dude too. So, I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, more than that, he's just, my dad and I are probably a lot alike. Like my guess is, and I think probably, when I was like I said, I might, maybe literally, I bet I've never heard him say a word worse than hell. I remember getting in trouble for sneaking out to Shauna Bibb's house in 8th grade. And my dad rolled up in his truck because he knew we were there. And he read me the riot act. I remember him saying, "What the hell were you thinking?" And I was like, "Holy shit, he just said hell."
He's angry.
I was like, he's mad.
Yeah.
So like, it's funny because I don't think, and even still, like, we don't really, like swear in front of each other much. I might drop a little shit or asshole here once in a while, but of course on the pod, that's one of the weird things about the pod is I know he listens, and I just
I know
let him fly,
swear up a storm. But I'm like, it's just something we don't ever do.
I want to give a shout out to Louis Ontiveros, and I don't know where Louis is, and hopefully he's still around, and I don't think he's a listener, but Louis Ontiveros in 4th grade was like, I remember that was the kid who taught us to cuss. You were just saying you were the kid who taught everyone to cuss. Louis Ontiveros was in 4th grade. I remember he was, we were together in Miss Doraz's class, I think, and that kid taught us all the correct words. Yeah. And then it was after that, the next year it was getting introduced to Eazy-E.
Oh, well, that's a big part of it. Yeah. Dirty Rap. Too short and easy.
Too short and easy.
Yeah. Two Live Crew.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 2 Live Crew was the original. Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, talking about being around your, thinking about your parents and not cursing is like, people listening to this podcast probably wouldn't believe it, but I can actually not cuss when it's not appropriate. I can be in a situation and not throw the F word around.
And that's exactly the thing that my parents were sort of like, I think the lesson late, by the time it was old, it was like, you can swear around your friends, but you can't swear in certain situations, and you have to be able to do that. And so I still, I can keep it together pretty well. Although I'd say, for me, swearing is a little bit of a test sometimes. Like, I'm going to swear around somebody and see how they react, because like sometimes they'll tell me a little bit about like whether or not like we're going to be a good match. Well, so like I like a woman that swears well. Like that, a woman that swears well is like not just a woman that sort of is
appropriate,
but like,
swearing,
appropriate, but sometimes like really let it rip. But like not just all the time super crass. Yeah.
Well, Nate, there was one of my favorite swearing moments ever, and talking about that filter to be able to turn it off and turn it on. This is sometime in high school. I'm thinking like junior, senior year. We came out to Santa Cruz to visit. It was me, Dan, Arlen, and Dave, and we came out to visit you on the coast when you guys had your beach house. And of course, it's 4 guys in a truck driving up, and we're cussing up a storm, talking shit, and blah, 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 blah. And then we get to the house, and it was like you and some of your relatives were all like sitting around, like your dad and your mom. And we come in, and we're like just kind of greeting people and stuff. And then Arlen says something like right in the middle. We're just standing in the middle of a bunch of Nate's family. And
it's like, like my parents, their friends.
Yeah. And he's like, oh man, that fucking drive, blah, blah. And I kind of look at him like at first, and then he's like, looks at me and he's like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I'm just like, dude, cut it. Like, what are you doing?
And he wasn't doing it on purpose in front of adults. He just like had no awareness.
It's like the filter just didn't get like shut off. Like he didn't shut off the swear filter. And like all of a sudden, like he's just, I think he dropped like 3 F-bombs right in a row. And I'm just like, kind of like grabbed him like, dude, hey.
And everyone just pretended it didn't happen. It wasn't like it. I was like.
And it just, I remember it so vividly. It's just like, Arlen. What is he doing?
You guys probably left the room, and your folks probably just started busting up laughing.
I'm sure. Right? I mean, they were high school kids.
Oh, that's great.
It's kind of like the look that Schwartz gives, I think, when he's doing the beatdown on the bully.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "Your mom's coming," and then he's like, "Ooh," he's kind of like trying to like cut it, and it doesn't happen. We were kind of doing that with Arlen.
Oh, I love it. All right, well let's get on to the next category here and say goodbye to the dead director.
Hey, this is Casey Shearer.
And this is Ray.
Do you like pop culture?
We're pretty sure you do.
Then come on over and check us out at deluxeedition.show.
You will not be sorry. Or maybe you will be. I don't know.
Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Oh Fudge, sweet treats and candy licks. Hey there, you looking to put some sweet and or salty holiday treats in your yapper? Or how about putting your tongue on some tasty sticks and poles? Well, we can't wait to fudge you right in the mouth with our sugary chocolates and variety of candy canes. The folks at Oh Fudge, sweet treats and candy licks can't wait to fill your mouth with their loads and loads of delicious gloriousness. So come on in today. And you know what we always say, fudge an A.
I love the idea of putting fudge in the glorious hole.
Oh, no.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you hit it with a shovel, or take it home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's shag, snack, body bag. Is it a one-night stand?
What the shit are you?
just off the rails, bro.
I think this is like my last recording for the year, and I just decided to just fuck it up big time.
Anyway, okay.
I should have just shot it. Oh, fudge.
Well, I was just sitting there thinking I was about to sing, is it a one night stand or do you shoot his fucking eye out? I missed an opportunity.
Missed opportunity.
Damn it.
It's never too late.
Okay. Well, this is the portion of the show where we shag, snag, and body bag. And shagging is, what are you just going to just use for one night and throw in the dumpster? Snag, what are you going to take home to your mom and dad? You just want to just love it forever. And body bag, just get the hell out of here. So we're going to start with shag, and I'm going to start with Nate.
So I have expressed at different times on this show that one of my great regrets is that I never that I never had I didn't say never, but I didn't do as much like sticking up to the bully as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Zach recently mentioned this on our Mean Girls pod.
Yeah, and I I think
you heard that, didn't you?
Wait, didn't he bring this up on the? We did.
He brought that up a long time ago. But I'm saying that Zach recently brought it up on the Mean Girls pod, and I was saying, Nate, you of course heard that.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, that's why it reminded me of it.
Right.
I listened to the Mean Girls, but it's the first one I ever listened to. So I love the scene where he beats the shit out of the bully.
Yeah,
and it's like I both love it because I'm just like, yeah, like that dude got what he needed, and it's sort of like, but it's also an interestingly, like I like it that he just breaks down, right? And in some ways it's the most serious part of the whole movie, right? You get this like real release where he's just overwhelmed, right? And he sort of rage, but also just like so beaten down by the sort of fear of this that he's kind of letting it all out. And so it's not the scene that like I think is the best in the movie, but it's the one that I like. If I'm gonna seek out a single scene, that might be it.
Most emotionally resonant for sure. And it's like that's the whole thing. It's not like he gets up and flexes and everybody cheers and like he's like
teabags
stomping
him
around. He fucking just breaks down and cries.
Which, considering like a lot of the silliness and the sort of like over the top kind of posturing fantasy that he has, you can imagine that scene would have that same flavor, and it just doesn't, right?
No.
It's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
In fact, like his brother's worried. His brother's like, man, Daddy's gonna kill Ralphie.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but we used to say that quote all the time. I had a buddy of mine. Daddy's gonna kill Ralphie. What's crazy is like, he's in this zone and he's just like, so obviously he's beating the crap out of Scott Farkas and his buddy. And the henchman comes over and is like, hey, what are you doing? And he just one arm just shoves him off him.
Yeah.
And then the mom, she can't even like for a couple minutes.
She scream at him for a second.
It's crazy.
And the blood on Farkas's face.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's really, it's kind of an intense, like, he pummels him.
Yeah. Like,
and he's got a little bit he's got that kind of like tears, like, man, I just got fucked up, and he's kind of he's pissed about it, but he's got a little tear in his eye too, and he's like trying to figure it out.
He's scared.
What's crazy about this is it always reminds me of this story my dad told me. So my dad was the nicest, most easygoing, soft spoken, but he's one of those guys that when he spoke, you listened, and he always had a twinkle in his eye. Great, just amazing man. And you wouldn't believe it, but he was in the Marine Corps because like when it was coming time to get drafted for Vietnam, he's like, well, if I'm going to get drafted, I'm just going to join. I'm going to join the best. I'm going to be a Marine. And so he joined the Marines. And he tells this story about this guy who was fucking with him just nonstop, just totally. Because my dad was kind of a smaller guy, but but my dad was also a lineman, which is crazy because like he was like, 5'10", but like
those linemen in the '60s were just.
But he can get under people. He said he goes, nobody ever got under me. So he's not the biggest guy around, but he was also strong. Well, this guy kept fucking with him, and he swears he does not remember what happened. Everything went black, and all of a sudden when he came to, the guy was on the ground, he was on his chest, and the guy's face was covered in blood.
Wow.
And he goes, he has no idea.
He went full Ralphie.
Full Ralphie. And so every time I watch this movie,
you think of your
I
dad.
think of my dad in that scene.
That's kind of a cool,
crazy.
kind of a cool memory.
Hey, cheers to your pops, man.
Yeah, cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers. Yeah.
Miss him so much. Okay, so Brad, what are you going to shag?
My shag is And it's weird. It's very interesting because like you would say the score, but it's kind of like a combination of score and soundtrack because they use a lot of some classic songs that were used in other movies and things. So it's like, but the music carries it. The music does such a good job of creating emotion and building scenes and like some of like the little like when he's like thinking about things, like all of a sudden like the music just kind of plays right into it and stuff, and like little just notes that are hitting. I really focus on the music when I watch it a lot of times because I really like a lot of the different little beats and songs that kick in. I'm
gonna co-sign on this, but it's a little different. But just pretty much just the feeling I get every single year when I hear that music, like the little drums, and then you hear the little jingle bells going on. And it's just that locks me in and says, okay, now it feels like Christmas is here. And
the song that does that for me is the Peter and the Wolf when the like that whole part, like that, like when the bullies are about to show up and stuff. I really dig that part. Like, I mean, just the music really hits in the right spots for me, and I really dig it.
Okay, let's move on to snag. Brad, why don't you start us off with the snags?
The snag, it's not even fair, and you guys might be co-signing here, but Melinda Dillon and Darren McGavin as the parents, like they are the perfect parents because they're so real, because everything they do, it's with love, but there's a lot of anger, and there's definitely bickering between them, and it in a strange way, it reminds me a lot of just like my childhood growing up, because like my parents bickered, but I knew they loved us.
Right.
The holidays were always special to us. And like, there was just kind of that same, like where they're going to play each role. Like sometimes one's the nurturing, sometimes one's the angry. And like, it kind of goes back and forth. Cause like sometimes she's nurturing, but other times she's with like the soap and like angry at him and stuff. Like, Ralphie, get out here and stuff.
But,
and
she also had his back and didn't tell him that he got in this fight.
Right. And then the dad has his back by getting him the BB gun. It's like, I had one when I was like 7 or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it's like they know how to kind of take care of the kids, even though sometimes there is some animosity and fire and anger and things going on.
I love the shot at the end where he's sitting in the dark and the snow's in the window. He's like, hey, take a look at this. And she sits he's in the easy chair, sits on the leg of the chair.
Oh yeah.
And he's got his arm up and he's kind of
true love, man.
The soft fingers on her back, and they toast their wine. It's just such a beautiful thing.
It's a very real I mean, oddly, right? It's like the movie's not really about it, but it's a very real relationship, right?
That's exactly the point. Is that like as I'm watching
like
it,
gritting her teeth about the leg lamp, right? And like eventually gets fucking pissed and is like, I'm breaking this thing.
And you know what? And it's the whole. And I know this is a movie that's tough, I think, in a little bit for maybe parents to show the kids, because there's the questions of So
let me jump into this.
Well, I just want to say, like, as a parent now, watching what they go through during the holidays, and like that moment after when Christmas is gone the way you hoped it has, and like that's what's so perfect about that moment is like they got their arms around each other and just like
we did it,
we handled this, and we got through this season, and I think everybody had a great time.
So we talked about this is my snag, and we talked about this in the Elf Pod, is like there's a concern for us, my wife and I as parents, because it introduces the idea that like some people don't believe in Santa Claus, and we're sort of at the point with our little girls that we're like, we don't even want to plant that seed. One of the things so my snag is like being able to bring to life both the magic of being a kid and believing, and also the magic of being a parent and making that
magic
belief
happen.
Right. Like stay. And they make the movie in a way where if you're a kid watching it, you relate to the experience of Ralphie. He's asking for this thing over and over again that he doesn't know if he's going to get, right? And he's like preoccupied with it. And then he's so stoked at the end. And if you're a kid and you still believe, I don't think you know that the parents got it for him, because one interpretation of the way that they talk about it is that like they're sort of like she's a little disapproving, but maybe they're sort of like, I don't know if Santa should have gotten it. And the dad's kind of like, well, I had one, right. So it's okay for Santa to have gotten it. So if you're a kid and you're looking at it as like Santa got that, obviously you don't watch the movie and think this, wait a minute. But if you're a parent, right. And you can relate to that scene. And so the exact same scene is totally relatable to a kid that's a total believer and a parent who has that special feeling of like, we really got this kid this thing that they didn't think they were going to get. And I just like, for me, it is a special thing. Thinking back as a kid, I relive that, a lot, and thinking as a parent, being a parent and seeing it is special, right? Like to get to, watch your kids do that.
Now, to me, I would think the part that I'm not a parent, and so I don't really know, but asking you guys, isn't the scene in the mall with the scary Santa and him saying, "Just shoot your eye out, kid," and then taking his foot and hitting? Wouldn't that kind of be something like? Or would kids say, "Is that really how Santa would do it?"
So the essential, the noble lie that's the most important for parents.
He's a helper.
Is there's always a lot of Santas that aren't the real Santa.
Okay.
They're and that like sometimes you talk to a Santa that like is either a helper or is just someone that's like pretending to be Santa. But like, the real Santa knows, right? The key is the real Santa knows without you telling him. Right. And so there's kind of there's some logic that's not connected there for kids, but they have to believe that there's a real Santa that knows, and there's some Santas that aren't really.
Well, kids are always going to write, like our kids wrote letters to Santa.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, if they're clever, they might ask the Santa, like, well, what did I write in my letter? And it's like, oh no, that's not the real Santa. Like, then yours went down. Yours went to the North Pole. Don't worry about it. Like this Santa doesn't know what's going on. Like this is just he's kind of helping. There's a lot of kids out there. He's got to have some helpers out there. Trying to do his business. So don't worry about that. I really just Darren McGavin as an actor.
So good.
It's like I really don't know much else that he's been in, and he's
Billy
got
Madison.
That is true.
That's the only other thing I know him from, really.
That's about
he in The Natural. He's the kind of the bookie guy that makes a lot of bets. So yeah, but not a bunch of huge roles.
But a large IMDb. Like he's got a lot of things he's acted, but just goddamn, he's so perfect for this role. Yeah. Like he is when he with the soap, the soap poisoning, and when he first says soap poisoning, he goes, oh, like the way he's just so dramatic about it, and it's so perfect, and it's like,
and his accent that he has that whole time is like, well, wait, he think it's Mad Bart,
I mean, one thing to point out, though, I mean, obviously, this is by far his most known role, and you might say, that he's not overly well known in some other things. But he has 181 total credits.
Giant IMDb
as an actor. And his first role, which is uncredited, is in 45, and his last is 08.
Yeah, he was working.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, made a lot of money.
I mean, that's a 63-year acting career.
That's wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and just when he's bargaining for the Christmas tree too, and he's sitting there and he's like talking like that's another thing about their relationship. Like he's sitting there talking with his wife, kind of like playing around, and then all of a sudden the guy's like realizing that, oh shit, this guy might have everything. He's like, I'll throw in some rope. You got a deal. Like just how aggressive he is with that. Just
he's great. And dude, how about his fake cussing? Like it's so great and
it's so good.
What a great way to do it, because he's saying some things, but if it was real cussing, it would just take all of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cause
it kind of like creates the experience of like, as a kid, you might not even really
know some of the words.
It's not meaningful to you, except that he's swearing. Right.
Yeah. And then they don't actually say the F word, and they do the whole fudge thing. So, so I was thinking about snagging him. Instead, I'm going to snag Peter Billingsley. He's so
does a good job.
He's so good. His facial expressions, his little smiles, his daydreaming. He's just so great. And it's one of those things I was like, why wasn't he a bigger thing? I know he had some other films, some other things, and then obviously he popped back up later. He's been in some Marvel movies. He's been kind of he was like the helper for Mysterio. Mysterio. I was thinking of a wrestler, Rey Mysterio.
Well, I think he's friends with Favreau, and like he
was an Elf.
He executive produced a lot of those movies, and he was an Elf, and so he's had a great career.
But like as a child actor, you'd think that you'd see him in more, and he did a few things. But then I thought, well, shit, this wasn't really a big hit, so maybe that's why some of the other kids in this didn't really take off quite as huge as maybe they could have. I know Schwartz, or not actually, well, Flick or Schwartz, whichever it was.
Scott Schwartz, who plays Flick,
was in The Toy with Richard Pryor.
Yes,
and he had some other movies he did, but
and then later did a little porn movie too. I think.
Oh shit!
He did a little adult movie.
Oh, I never saw it. Missed it. Well, Brad, tell us about it.
That's about as much as I know.
It's a Christmas boner.
It was
no? All right. Okay.
Something like that.
That's just me.
But yeah, it was like later on he did like, it was like when kind of those like I think Screech had like a little kind of like adult film. Like it was kind of like in that era.
Sorry, Dustin Diamond did an adult film.
He was like some like the handheld filmed like interactions with some adult.
He made the girl screech.
Well done.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know anything about the porn career of Schwartz or Flick or whoever.
Well, I'm surprised, and you took Peter Billingsley, but you didn't take I Like Santa.
That character is weird and crazy. I love it. It's fantastic. But yeah, no, I got to go with Billingsley. He's so great. So let's move on to the body bags. And who wants to start us off with that?
So I'm going to body bag. There's not many things that I feel regretful about in terms of the progression away from like regular cable and television towards streaming, right? Because I don't even have, unlike Scotch over there, I no longer have the TiVo and the regular, any kind of TV subscription.
He just texted us a couple days ago. It was like we were talking about a movie, and he just happened to mention it, and he's like, "Oh, look what's coming on TV!"
It was Youngblood.
Yeah, looking at his like DVR menu, and I was like, "Oh,"
and I was literally like, "I don't even know what that is." But this, I would say, my body bag is that this is one of the things that I lose, right? So it's on Max, right? So I had it. I was rolling through it, but again, this is a movie that I guess the body bag is a combo. It's not really a movie I can watch front to back anymore, but it's a movie that I will love to have on and catch scenes. And so you have to do something other than just turn on TNT for the rest of, the month.
It's funny because I was going to argue with you and say, dude, you can totally watch it start to finish. And literally I watched it from start to finish today, but I know I missed a big chunk of it because I was on my phone and I wasn't watching the movie. So I basically can't make that argument. So you're right.
I used to love when they actually, for a while, they were doing on both TBS and TNT 24. Like as soon as it goes to commercial one, I just changed the other one. I didn't care what point in the movie it was. Like I would just be like, and I was just like, oh, I've already been watching that, but you know what? I don't want to watch commercials, so I'm going to go ahead and I don't care what part of the movie it's in. I'm going to jump to that one.
Oh, that's fantastic. Brad,
my body bag is it's really simple. The fact that I never got to slide into cotton. Like that just looked so fun as much as like a lot of the kids were screaming or he's getting kicked in the face as he's getting pushed down or the little kid with like the little pilot glasses is losing his mind. It looked fun. I was like, dude, you get to slide down and like land in the cotton at the bottom. Like, what the fuck? Vintage Fair Mall. Why have you not done this yet? Like, I want to be on a second story slide and go down into the cotton. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I just wish we had a store like that. Just a wonderland of toys and I mean, we had a Toys R Us, but that's not the same. Like,
did you ever go to is it FAO Schwartz in San Francisco?
Never got to.
Oh, never went to
that. Was magical.
Okay,
because they actually did like the whole like piano on the ground and everything like that. Where you can,
it was
try
like
out shit.
It felt like the store in Home Alone.
Right.
Yeah, or Big, I think. Like,
it was, and we would go sometimes at Christmas to Union Square. That was sort of a tradition for some years, and going to, in that sort of like 8 to maybe 7 to 12 age range, going to FAO Schwartz just off Union Square in San Francisco was as feeling like you were in a movie as I could get at that age.
KB Toys in the mall, they usually had like the remote control cars and stuff out front, like you could kind of play with, and I was like, that was always kind of my thing. I was like, okay, at the mall, Christmas season, KB Toys, like walking through those halls, like being like, oh,
figuring out what you're going to ask for
which G.I. Joe set do I think I'm going to try to get? I don't think they're going to get that big one, but I'll go for the little less one.
I'm going to body bag. So years after I saw this for the first time, I'm sitting there and I discovered another new movie, and it's probably one of my all-time favorite films. It's a little movie called Slapshot. And I'm watching Slapshot, and then I realize that the lady that Paul Newman just banged, and he also finds out that she hooked up with one of the other players' wives. I found out and you also see her boobies.
Melinda Dillon.
That's
Ralphie's
Melinda,
mom.
Ralphie's mom. And I'm sitting there watching. I go, wow, she's familiar. Who is?
How was
How
that?
do I know this girl? Oh shit!
She was slutty in her younger days.
How's the rack?
Not great.
Yeah,
not great. They're kind of hanging down a little bit, and they're real, and
Yeah.
it was, but there was still something like, hey,
That's Ralphie's
It's
mom.
Ralphie's mom. So I was like
Changes the
horrified,
game, man. It changes the
and then at
game.
the same time going, okay,
Titillated.
It's like seeing Scott Schwartz's dick.
right. So it was just a weird. It was a weird moment, and it took me out of Slapshot, which was a bummer. But then I got back into it, and realized it was the greatest sports movie in the history of sports movies.
It's classic.
Fact. So anyway, okay, that's great. We had some good ones. Let's move on to the next segment.
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, find anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Tubi, Sling TV, Showtime, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? I'm sure it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
Okay, if you like Christmas Story, then there's a very good chance you're going to like one of the recommendations we're about to give you. Brad?
Well, we talked about it earlier, and I knew we were going to get to it before I got to recommend it. But I am going to recommend A Christmas Story Christmas on Max. It is a nice, it honors the old movie. It's got all the main characters come back. It's got Farkas, Schwartz, Flick, everybody's back in it. Ralphie's in it for like a brief moment, but it's worth watching.
Ralphie's just in it for a brief moment?
No, I'm sorry. His brother.
Randy.
Randy's in it
Okay.
for a pretty brief moment, but it is it's a lot of fun. It's got some funny little stories. They pay some homage to it, and it's really cool. So
I'm gonna finish it. I think
I remember it starting slow.
Yes,
I remember it starting slow, and it takes a little bit, and then once you kind of get in towards the I think the middle part, it starts to kind of like really bring the story together. So
I'll give it another chance.
I'd give it another shot. Yeah, for sure.
Nate.
So I may have recommended this last Christmas. So maybe our boy Steve or Hank or Jason can fact check me here. But I am going to recommend Violent Night.
Okay.
Not because it's particularly connected to this, but it's just I liked it. It's a new kind of novel Christmas movie, and it takes the Christmas part of it very seriously.
Violent Night.
Yeah,
came out last year.
Okay.
It's kind of a Die Hard type movie mixed with so it's Die Hard mixed with Ready or Not.
Okay.
Almost like a gory, violent action comedy about Santa.
Okay.
But he does lots of cool shit with
Is that David Harbour? Is he
from
the-
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's Santa, and it has it's funny. But I think the thing that's most notable about it that I loved was he uses like lots of Christmas themed things for his like violence. Okay. And so it's through and through, it's a Christmas movie.
Right. Okay.
Even though it's a lot of, but it's, I thought of it when I went into it as like a horror, but it's not a horror. It's just an action movie that is gory.
Uh-huh.
And some of the, there's that tradition. It's sort of like Zombieland or maybe something like that. So
Okay.
It's great. It's good. It's on Prime. So
Okay.
It's worth
I'll
a
check it
watch.
out.
Yeah.
I saw a meme today online, and it was 3 movies, and it said, which one isn't a Christmas movie? And the 3 movies were Die Hard, Gremlins, which we've done both of those, and the third one was Trading Places, which I kind of forgot about, but there's Christmas in that too. And so if me personally, I think they're all 3 Christmas movies.
Yeah. The answer is it's a trick question.
Which was fortunately, every comment I saw, they said, well, all 3.
All 3.
So they're all Christmas movies.
All 3.
Anyway, my streaming rec is going to be, something about the joy of discovery and children and kids and all that stuff, and just young people in general. And if you're talking about a movie about discovery, you got to go with one of Bob Clark's other movies, Porky's. How they're discovering themselves, their sexuality.
Things. Yeah.
They see some things.
They discover some things.
And damn it, it's just a wrong movie from top to bottom, but it's a big part of my childhood, and it's just hilarious and funny, and it's on YouTube for 99 cents.
Yeah.
So
Well, I will say that Bob Clark says that if he doesn't do Porky's, there's never a Christmas Story. He's like, that's what basically gave him the clout to be able to do a Christmas Story.
That's amazing.
So he goes from Porky's, which makes a bunch of money and gets his name out there. And he's like, and then I got to do Christmas Story. Because like they were all trying to make me do horror movies again and stuff. He's like, I didn't want to do that. He's like, I wanted to do this little Christmas classic. And he got to do it. So that's pretty cool.
So wild. I love it.
And, one final stream recommendation, if this is your genre and you're into it, Scotty's X-Rated Adventure is what you could search for. If you want to do a Google and you want to get interested in some...
Pick up a few viruses on your computer while you're at it.
Some flick dick. There you go.
There it is.
Flick dick flick.
Awesome. Sweet. Let's run into some alternate endings.
No jet wash for Maverick, Meg still on that goose stick. Iceberg list Titanic, Leo's drawing that nude shit. Jim fucks Nadia like we all thought he should. Ricky and Doughboy get the fuck out the hood. Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending. It's time for a reshelf and alternate endings.
I'm very interested to see what we kind of come up with here because like we kind of mentioned earlier, the way it ends is just great with the mom and dad hanging out, and then they show the shot of them sleeping with their toys and the great classic line of him pulling off hip shots and as he's dreaming with his gun. I mean, I couldn't think of a better ending for a movie, but that's what we do is we like to fuck things up.
So I don't know if this is an ending. I mean, I guess it's an alternate ending, right? Mm-hmm. So he everything pretty much happens as it is, except he gets the gun, he shoots exactly as he is in the target, except instead of just breaking his glasses, the bullet actually goes into his eye.
Oh, shit.
They cut, like he has to rush in, right? He tells his mom that, it was in fact the bullet, the BB. He goes to the doctor. We don't see him go to the hospital, but he comes back and like in the final scene, he's wearing an eye patch. Mm-hmm. And he did in fact shoot his eye out. And so like, it's just sort of an unsaid thing, but like we assume that finally, like in the full fit of irony, right? Like he shot his eye out.
It's like the Twilight Zone version.
I love it.
Have you guys did you get growing up, and I'm putting you on the spot here trying to remember a story, but did you ever like do something against the wishes of your folks and ended up getting hurt and like have something happen while you guys are thinking about it? Because I actually shot myself with a BB gun.
Oh.
And it wasn't my eye or my face or anything like that, but I have memories. We were living in this property, and I can picture myself being on that side of this old shed that this cantina used to be, and there was a piece of inner tube there. It wasn't blown up, but just like rubber inner tube, and I decided, I'm going to shoot that. I was BB gun shooting all kinds of shit with my Red Ryder, and I went down, shot it, and it bounced straight back up and hit me right in the gut.
Oh.
And it fucking hurt. And it left a big old welt on my stomach. And I thought like it was inside, I thought it like went through the shirt, and I think that was fine. But so I always think about that when I see that scene where he shoots his eye out. So.
Well, Lieutenant Dan shot my ass out.
Yeah. One pump, not far enough. 2 pumps just lit Brad's ass up.
No, it was like 7 pumps.
It wasn't. No, I was in the truck. He pumped it once, shot the bullet. It like fizzled out about 3/4 of the way. He's like, all right, we got to do it twice. Shot it, and you like shot up,
jumped up in the air.
Yeah, it was good. It was solid.
All right, my alternate ending is it's along the same lines. He gets the gun and everything. He's practicing. He doesn't actually like shoot his glasses. Like in the back, he's practicing. He feels he's pretty good with it. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, he's the new bully on the block. Like you got Scott Farkas is like hanging out with his little toady, and like they're just kind of like sitting there, and all of a sudden he's up on the thing, just bop. He's just shooting them. They're like, oh, and like he's just like fucking with them, and he turns into just like this little ruthless little asshole around town, just shooting.
Maybe
people.
Just like stock whipping people, just like cracking their skulls.
Oh, just super aggressive. And he's like, what? You gonna fuck with me? You gonna fuck with me? You gonna fudge with me?
You gonna fudge with me? Don't fudge with me.
You just straight up literally just took what I was gonna say.
Oh no!
What I was gonna say was you show him like laying there, and then like a post credit scene, you see Scott Farkas and his little toady sitting there fucking with somebody else, and all of a sudden his little henchman goes, "Ow! and like, he gets hit in the neck. He's like, what the hell? And Scott Farkus looks, and then he shoots his eye out.
Oh, but see, you're being kind of he's kind of the hero because like you got the guys. I'm just saying he's just like they're just like hanging out doing nothing. He's just shooting them because he's just no. He's like, I'm getting my revenge on everybody.
Got it. Yeah. So same but different.
What if he goes back, finds the Santa, and just like he goes Rage Monster, lights up the Santa, lights up the elves.
Those little elves.
I was kind of thinking that the I like Santa, that kid.
Yeah.
What if he was a vampire?
Oh no, that you got that all wrong. See
what?
You got that all wrong. There was shot an alternate ending because, as we know, the director was originally a horror movie guy. So the original ending was that they ruin the turkey. They go to the Chinese restaurant. Of course, no one goes to the Chinese restaurant, so it's empty. And like they kind of look at them, they bring out a menu, and then all of a sudden, all the employees of the Chinese restaurant come out and surround them. They're all vampires.
They're feasting.
Christmas Story Till Dawn.
And he doesn't have his Red Rider yet, does he?
Well, no, he left it at home. Because he shot his eye out.
That's right.
I will say that they the one little trivia I did see that said that Melinda Dillon did not know they were going to bring out the duck with the head.
Yeah.
And she that was a real reaction.
And she was like reacting. And then when he fucking knifed it off, like she was not expecting that. And that's why her scream is so legit. Like,
well, when she first sees it, she's so startled.
It's a great reaction.
It's so amazing. Yeah. And then the head gets chopped off. It's so great.
I will say this movie, I'd never had duck. Like until I saw this movie and like I was just excited and we actually went to a Chinese restaurant and I got some duck one time and I was like, fucking duck is delicious.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I don't think I've ever had
dark,
duck.
meaty, gamey, but
it's a little greasy, a little bit.
A little greasy. That's what it is.
Yeah, but
it's good though.
It's tasty.
Dig it.
You never had duck?
Nope.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't had any like weird exotic meats really in my life. I haven't had deer. I haven't had buffalo. I haven't had any of that shit. I need to eat more different meat. No lamb.
You're shitting. You've never had lamb?
Nah, never had a desire to do
And you're very much a carnivore. I would think of you as somebody who likes to eat some meat.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you ever try lengua or like cabeza or anything like that?
Taco trucks. I had them all. I had the say-sos. I fucking ate the brain. I don't give a shit.
So that I've not had. That's actually funny enough. That's for all the taco truck I've eaten. I've never done the crazy.
I've done everything on the menu on that.
But I've done gator. I've done snake.
Actually, you know what? I have done some snakes and some gator stuff because there was a great place down in LA. They had these little sausages and they had like mixes of like one had alligator snake and something like that. So I've done that.
Gator's actually like I've had gator in Florida and in Louisiana.
Dude, those gator nuggets, that spot we went to were delicious.
I just had those again the other day in Florida. They're really good. Yeah, the buffalo gator nuggets.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some. I'm trying to think of the other exotic. I had zebra. No, I didn't have zebra.
I was just sitting here thinking
endangered squirrel.
I had giraffe neck. Is that not okay? Yeah, I had that.
I was just thinking that like the good nickname for you is Buffalo Gator Nuggets.
Buffalo Gator Nuggets.
Like that. So that's what I'm gonna call you from now on.
They're delicious.
Please do.
So what are we doing next week?
You know what? Whenever we get close to the actual Christmas day, we figure a lot of you guys are going to be, opening presents and eating good food and hanging out with family and getting drunk and watching the Niners beat the shit out of the Baltimore Ravens. So I figured, you know what? It might be time for another little greatest hits episode.
I like that.
Yeah, those are fun.
Greatest hits if you've got any ideas, throw them on the socials. Like if you're like, oh dude, like that story about this or that, like if you want to bring that up just to kind of, jog our memories. Cause we've been doing this for a little bit and sometimes,
I don't remember what we said tonight.
Yeah,
already.
Exactly.
Any more news on the Last Call beer release?
It's still in the works. I mean,
so we're going to have another, so the third, you think it'll be a third edition of BVK IPA or are we going to like mix it up?
Well, I mean, the recipe's changed a little bit from the first two iterations. So
we had the original and the director's cut. What are we going to call it now? Like the extended edition?
Well, we can just brainstorm really quick. What do we got?
Unrated, uncut,
trifecta.
I like unrated, uncut.
Yeah,
unrated, uncut.
Or we can just fucking actually this time just do a stout, call it blooper reel.
Oh, there you go.
Why with the stout?
I'm just saying. I love stouts.
The one guy that drinks stouts over here trying
want to
to
do
make
stout.
God damn it. It is a winter beer, though. It is funny. We do this delicious, like tasty, tropical, hazy IPA, and it's right in the middle of winter.
It's because everybody's dreaming about the tropics. It's late January, early February. Everybody's ready to be done with the winter.
Wasn't Freddy, Friday, no, not Friday the 13th, but the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, wasn't it Dream
Warriors?
Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
We're dreaming of the summer. We're dreaming of the...
I feel like you're forcing it.
Dream. Fuck, I lost it.
All right, so we're doing the best. We don't even know what we're doing the new year.
We really have no clue, folks. You know what? Just bear with us. There's probably going to be some content.
You know what we should do?
What's that?
We should invite we should give put out some lists and have some listeners vote for movies.
Yeah.
And put it on the socials and we could pick a few. We could put out a list out of 10 or something, and then let listeners vote on.
And whatever they pick, then we'll just
do the
pick
first
what we want to do
four,
anyway.
Do the first, exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Well, we got to contact a few of our favorite guests too. Like, we got to get Lieutenant Dan back on.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan, maybe the Gov hasn't made an appearance in a while.
I know the Gov. I bet,
and he's never picked a movie.
I bet he feels kind of like he's been shit on a little bit.
Yeah, he probably does.
Well, 'tis the season.
To shit on people?
For shitting, yeah, I guess. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been an amazing year. We've had a lot of fun, and bye-bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies, just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. It's got to can grab your favorite podcast, the star.